The emergency siren screamed through every corridor of Harmony Station. An administrator pilot felt his antenna twitch with each piercing wail. He rushed through the control center, his 6 legs carrying him faster than he had moved in years. Around him, other Kalari workers scrambled to their posts, their chitinous bodies clicking against the middle floors. "Report," pilot demanded, his voice translator converting his clicks into galactic standard. "Raider, sir, 20 vessels. They came from the dark side of the moon." His second officer replied, mandibles trembling. "Our sensors didn't detect them until they opened fire." Pilot watched the tactical display with growing horror. The green dots representing Harmony Station's defense platforms were winking out one by one. Red enemy markers swarmed closer like angry insects. His people had lived in peace for 3 generations. They had forgotten what war looked like. The station shuddered. Somewhere in the lower deck, something exploded. "Get me a channel to the Confederation Defense Fleet," pilot ordered. "Emergency priority." Trademo entered the control center, her long neck swaying with obvious distress. The Tananish were peaceful traders, their soft fur and gentle eyes made for negotiation, not combat. "Administrator, my people are panicking. They're asking if we should evacuate." "Evacuate to where?" Pilot gestured at the display. "The raiders have surrounded us. They're jamming our transport signals." Another explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered. Someone screamed in the distance. "Communications are damaged, sir," the officer reported. "I can't reach the defense fleet on standard channels." Pilot felt his body grow cold. The defense fleet was supposed to be only 3 hours away. They had promised protection. The Confederation had promised safety to all member stations. Try the emergency frequency. The old one from the colonial days. "Sir, nobody monitors that frequency anymore. It's been obsolete for 50 years. Try it anyway." The officer worked his console with trembling claws. Static filled the speakers. More explosions echoed through the walls. Pilot could smell smoke now, accurate and wrong. "This is Harmony Station broadcasting on emergency frequency 972. The officer spoke into his microphone. "We are under attack by Ravager forces. Requesting immediate military assistance. Civilian population of 8,000. Defense is failing. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help." Silence answered them, just the crackle of static and the sound of dying systems. Pilot made a decision. Broadcast our coordinates on repeat. Keep trying every channel we have left. The station lurched violently. Pilot grabbed a support rail to keep from falling. Warning lights bathed everything in red. The tactical display showed enemy boarding pods launching toward the outer docks. "They're boarding us," Willow whispered. Pilot straightened his posture, trying to project calm he didn't feel. "Seal all internal bulkheads. Get everyone to the intersections." "How many security personnel do we have?" 43, sir. They're armed with crowd control weapons. Crowd control weapons against Ravager boarding parties. It would be like fighting fire with water spray. The Ravagers were known across the sector for their brutality. They took what they wanted and left nothing but bodies behind. Tell security to hold the choke points as long as they can. Priority is evacuating civilians to the core sections. Hours crawled by like wounded animals. Pilot listened to the reports with growing despair. The outer ring was lost. Ravagers were pushing through the middle sections. His 43 security officers had been reduced to 19. Fires burned in sectors 7 through 12. Life support was failing in the docking areas. "Still no response to our distress call?" he asked for the 20th time. "Nothing, sir. Just static." Willow stood beside him, her large eyes reflecting the red emergency lights. "Do you think anyone heard us?" "I don't know. The Confederation promised to protect us, no. My children are in the core shelter. They're only 3 years old." Pilot reached out and touched her shoulder. The gesture awkward between their different species, but sincere. "We'll hold them as long as we can." The door to the control center burst open. A security officer stumbled in, his uniform scorched and torn. "They've breached Sector 4. Commander Drift is dead. We can't hold them." Pilot felt something break inside him. This was the end. They had called for help and nobody had come. The peaceful station would fall. 8,000 civilians would die or worse. "Sir," the communications officer suddenly shouted. "I'm getting a response." Everyone turned. Hope flickered like a candle in darkness. "It's not the defense fleet, sir. The signal is coming from outside the system. They're using the old emergency frequency. The language is strange, but my computer is translating it." "What are they saying?" The officer listened, his antenna rigid with concentration. "They say they received our distress call. They say they're coming. Estimated arrival in 14 minutes. Who are they? What fleet? I don't know, sir. They used a word my translator doesn't recognize. Something about a frontier guard. The voice patterns are unusual. Very aggressive sounding. 14 minutes. Pilot looked at the tactical display. The Ravagers would reach the core sections in 20 minutes. It would be close. Too close. Tell them we're grateful for any help, Pilot said, and pray they arrive in time. The officer sent the message. Static answered for a moment. Then that strange, harsh voice came back. Even through the translator, it sounded dangerous. Somehow predatory, they acknowledged. They say to hold on. They say they're coming in hot. Pilot didn't know what that meant. He didn't care. Someone had heard their call. Someone was coming. He just hoped whoever they were, they would be enough to face the Ravagers. The countdown began. 14 minutes until salvation or just more death. The station shuddered again, and Pilot closed his eyes and prayed to ancestors he barely believed in anymore. Lieutenant Daniels had been running diagnostics on the sensor array when the ancient frequency detector started beeping. She stared at it for 3 full seconds, certain it was malfunctioning. Nobody used frequency 972 anymore. That channel was older than her grandmother. Captain Ross, you need to hear this, she said into her comm. Ross arrived in the sensor room within minutes. He was a tall man with gray threading through his dark hair and eyes that had seen too many patrol routes along the border. What am I looking at, Daniels? Distress call, sir. Coming in on an obsolete emergency frequency. It's alien, but the computer is translating. They listened together. The voice was high-pitched, clicking, desperate. Words tumbled over each other. Attack civilians. Help, please. Location, Ross asked. Harmony Station, Outer Spiral Sector. 3 hours at maximum burn. That's outside our patrol zone. Yes, sir. Ross was quiet for a long moment. Daniels knew what he was thinking. First contact protocols were strict. Any encounter with unknown species required approval from Earth Command. The paperwork alone would take weeks, but that voice on the recording sounded terrified. What kind of weapon signatures are the attackers using? Ross finally asked. Daniels pulled up the data embedded in the distress signal. Plasma cannons, magnetic accelerators, ion dispersal weapons. Sir, those match the profile of Ravager raiders. Ross's jaw tightened. The Ravagers had hit 3 human colony ships in the past year. 60,000 dead. The Frontier Guard had standing orders to engage Ravagers on site. Get me Fleet Command, Ross said. Sir, at this range, communication lag is 40 minutes each way. By the time they respond, those civilians will be dead. I know. Ross looked at the star map at the blinking red marker showing Harmony Station. How many ships does the distress call mention? 20 raider vessels, unknown station defenses, and we have 6 ships. Not great odds. Ross turned to leave, then paused. Bring the fleet to combat alert. Set course for Harmony Station. Maximum burn, sir. First contact protocols. We'll worry about protocols after we save those people. Move, Daniels. The fleet came alive. The carrier Defiant led the formation with 5 escort ships trailing behind. In the Marine Bay, Sergeant Cole was briefing his troops when the combat alert sounded. He had been a Marine for 12 years, fought pirates and raiders, done peacekeeping on 4 colony worlds. This would be his first time facing actual aliens. Listen up, he told his squad. We've got a rescue mission. Unknown alien species under attack by Ravagers. We don't know the station layout. We don't know if the aliens are friendly. We do know civilians are dying. Private Wells raised her hand. What do the aliens look like, Sarge? No idea. First contact. So nobody shoots unless I give the order or someone shoots at you first. Clear. Clear, Sergeant. The fleet burned through space, pushing engines past safe limits. In the medical bay, Dr. Lin prepared for casualties while reading everything the computer could translate from the distress signal. The species called themselves Quillari, insectoid. Exoskeleton. That would make treatment interesting. She had never worked on an insect before. 14 minutes from arrival. Tactical got their first visual of Harmony Station. Mother of God, Daniels whispered. The station was burning. Atmosphere vented from a dozen breaches. Wreckage floated in clouds around the structure. 20 raider ships surrounded it like wolves around wounded prey. All ships battle formation Delta, Ross ordered. Target the raider vessels. Fire on my mark. Sir, they've detected us. Tactical reported 5 raider ships breaking off to intercept. Good, that's 5 fewer attacking the station. All batteries free fire when in range. The Defiance gun spoke first. Magnetic accelerators launched slugs at a fraction of light speed. The first raider ship disappeared in a flash of debris. The others scattered, firing back, but human ships were built for frontier combat. They were fast, heavily armed, and their crews had trained 4 years in the empty spaces between stars. 2 more raider ships died in the opening exchange. The remaining raiders realized they were outmatched and tried to run. Ross let them go. The station was what mattered. Boarding teams, prepare for deployment, Ross ordered. Sergeant Cole, you're up. Cole and his Marines loaded into assault shuttles. They wore powered armor, carried weapons designed to punch through ship holes, and moved with the confidence of people who had done this before. The shuttles launched, spiraling through defensive fire toward the burning station. Docking bay is compromised. The pilot reported, I'm taking us to a hull breach in Sector 5. They landed hard. The Marines poured out into chaos. Bodies floated in corridors. The gravity was failing. Fires burned in strange colors, and everywhere there were signs of fighting. Movement ahead, Wells reported. Cole raised his weapon. Around the corner came 3 figures. They were massive, heavily armed, wearing armor that bristled with weapons. Ravagers. Cole had seen the intelligence reports. Now he saw them in person, and they were even uglier than the photo suggested. Contact, he shouted. The firefight was brief and brutal. Ravagers were tough, but Marine armor was tougher. Cole's squad pushed forward, clearing corridors. Following the sound of weapons fired deeper into the station, they found the defenders in a sealed section near the core, 40 or 50 aliens huddled behind makeshift barricades, firing small weapons at Ravagers who were cutting through a bulkhead door. The aliens were like nothing Cole had ever seen. Insect bodies, multiple legs, antennae twitching. They looked terrified. Engage the hostiles, Cole ordered. The Marines opened fire. Ravagers died. The ones that survived turned to face this new threat and died too. In less than 30 seconds, the corridor was clear. Cole's squad moved forward, weapons ready, checking bodies. The aliens behind the barricade were staring at them. Cole could see fear in their large compound eyes. He lowered his weapon slowly and raised one hand in what he hoped was a universal peaceful gesture. We heard your distress call, he said. We're here to help. One of the aliens stepped forward. Its translator crackled. What are you? We're humans from Earth. Earth? It's a planet. Look, we can do introductions later. Are there more of you? Thousands in the core shelter, but the raiders will break through soon. Cole activated his comm captain. We've made contact with the aliens. They're friendly, requesting reinforcements to secure the station. Ross's voice came back immediately. Reinforcements are on the way. Hold that position, Sergeant. Cole turned back to the alien. Help is coming. We're going to get you out of this. What's your name? Administrator Pilot. Nice to meet you, pilot. Now show me where these raiders are coming from and let's go kill some more of them. The alien stared at him for a long moment, antennae quivering. Then it gestured down a corridor. This way I will guide you. Cole followed his Marines around him and behind them the surviving alien defenders. They moved through the burning station, hunting Ravagers, saving lives, and making history with every step. First contact had officially begun, written in gunfire and blood. Trademau pressed herself against the wall as another explosion shook the corridor. She had never experienced violence before today. Her species had evolved on gentle plains, eating fruits and leaves, running from predators rather than fighting them. War was something she had read about in historical texts, not something real. Now it was very real, and she was terrified. The bulkhead door groaned as Ravagers cut through it from the other side. Beside her, Administrator Pilot aimed his small crowd control weapon with shaking claws. It would do nothing against Ravager armor. They both knew it, but they would try anyway because their children were sheltering in the rooms behind them. Then the shooting started from somewhere down the corridor, different weapons louder. The cutting on the bulkhead door stopped. She heard Ravager voices shouting in their harsh language, then screaming, then silence. What happened? Willow whispered. Heavy footsteps approached. Pilot raised his weapon. Around the corner came something Willow's mind struggled to process. They walked on 2 legs like Tananish, but that was where any similarity ended. They were covered head to toe in dark armor that reflected no light. They moved with frightening purpose, carrying weapons that seemed far too large for any living being to hold. One of them raised a hand. We heard your distress call. We're here to help. The voice was deep, aggressive, almost growling. Willow's translator worked frantically to convert the sounds into something she could understand. What are you? Pilot asked, his voice barely working. We're humans from Earth. Willow had never heard of Earth. The name meant nothing, but these humans had just killed Ravagers, something her people couldn't do with their best weapons. More humans arrived, carrying wounded Quillari security officers. Willow watched in amazement as they handled the injured with surprising gentleness. Their armored hands careful despite their size. One human knelt beside a dying officer, checking vital signs, applying something from a medical kit. "This one needs surgery immediately," the human said. "Where's your medical bay?" "Sector 3, pilot answered. "But it's on fire." "Then we'll use ours." "Wells, get a stretcher." They worked with incredible efficiency. Willow had never seen anything move so fast, so decisively. Within minutes, the wounded were being carried toward the hull breach where human shuttles waited. The human who had first spoken, the one called Cole, looked at Pilot. "Show me where the raiders are coming from." They moved through the station and Willow followed because she didn't know what else to do. She watched as these humans fought. It was like watching a natural disaster with purpose. They didn't take cover the way Quilly did. They advanced. When Ravagers fired at them, the humans barely slowed down. Their armor absorbed hits that would have killed anyone else. She saw one human take a plasma bolt directly to the chest. The armor burned. The human staggered. Willow expected them to fall to die. Instead, the humans steadied themselves, raised their weapon, and killed the Ravager who had shot them. "Cole, you hit?" another human asked. "Armor took most of it. I'm good." "Good?" Willow had seen the hit. The temperature reading showed over 600 degrees at the impact point. No living thing should survive that. Yet this human continued fighting as if nothing had happened. They reached a large cargo bay where Ravagers had established a forward position. 20 raiders with heavy weapons behind solid cover. Pilot's forces had tried to dislodge them 4 hours and failed. Cole studied the situation for perhaps 30 seconds. "Grenades," he ordered. 2 humans pulled small spheres from their belts and threw them with impossible force. The spheres arced across the entire bay and detonated behind the Ravager position. The explosions were deafening in the enclosed space. Willow's ears rang. She couldn't imagine using explosives inside a station. It was madness. The hull could breach. Everyone could die, but the humans didn't seem concerned. They charged into the smoke, firing as they moved. Willow heard Ravagers screaming, heard the constant thunder of human weapons. Then silence clear, Cole reported. Moving to the next section. They pushed deeper into the station, reclaiming corridor after corridor. Willow began to understand something disturbing. The Ravagers were fleeing. She had never heard of Ravagers fleeing. They were the terror of the outer spiral, the nightmare that peaceful species whispered about. Yet they were running from these humans. In the command center, Administrator Pilot watched tactical displays with Daniels, the human lieutenant. Outside the station, human ships had destroyed or driven off the Ravager fleet. Inside, human Marines were systematically eliminating the remaining raiders. "How are you doing this?" Pilot asked. "The Ravagers are professional soldiers. They've conquered dozens of stations." Daniels looked at him with those strange, forward-facing eyes. "We have a saying on Earth, you can't conquer a human world. We've been fighting each other for 10,000 years. We got good at it, but your durability. I saw one of your soldiers take a plasma hit and keep fighting. Our homeworld has high gravity. Makes our bones denser, our muscles stronger. We evolved to survive there. What kind of world is Earth?" Daniel smiled, though Pilot wasn't sure if it was a friendly expression or aggressive one, a dangerous one. In the cargo bay, Sergeant Cole coordinated with Dr. Lin as wounded aliens were brought to the human medical shuttles. Lin worked with focused intensity, her instruments adapting to alien physiology. She had already saved 3 Quillari who would have died without intervention. "Their biology is fascinating," she told Cole while working. "Completely different from ours, but the fundamentals are similar enough." "I can work with this." A young quarry approached Cole nervously. Its translator struggled with the words. "Thank you. You saved my family." Cole removed his helmet. Underneath was a scarred face, dark skin, eyes that had seen combat. The Kari flinched but held its ground. "That's what we do," Cole said simply. "We protect people." The Quillera tilted its head. "Are all humans like you? Warriors, some of us? Most aren't, but all of us will fight when we need to. Your world made you this way. Yeah, Earth is beautiful, but it's not gentle. You learn to be tough or you don't survive." The Quillari was quiet for a moment. "I think I'm glad you heard our call." "Me too," Cole said. "Me too." Hours later, the station was secure. Ravager bodies were being collected. Human engineers were helping repair critical systems. Medical teams worked alongside Kari doctors, sharing knowledge, saving lives. In the command center, Captain Ross met formally with Administrator Pilot and Tratum Willow. It was humanity's first official contact with alien species, conducted in a room still smelling of smoke and fear. On behalf of Harmony Station, Pilot said carefully, "I thank you for your assistance. You saved thousands of lives today." Ross nodded. "We did what anyone should do." "You called for help," we answered. "But you are not part of the Confederation. You don't know us. Why help?" Ross considered the question. "Because it was the right thing to do. We heard people in trouble and we could help. That's enough." Willow spoke for the first time. "Your people are terrifying. The way you fight, the damage you endure. Are all humans so violent?" "We can be," Ross admitted. "But violence and cruelty aren't the same thing. We fight hard when we need to, but we also help. We heal, we protect. That's human too." Pilot touched his antenna together in what might have been a gesture of respect. "I think the galaxy needs to know about humans, about Earth. This changes everything." Ross smiled slightly. "First contact usually does." Dr. Lin sat in the makeshift medical facility, examining the Quillari anatomy charts that Administrator Pilot had provided. Across from her, a young Quarry doctor named Fisher watched nervously as she worked. "Your surgical techniques are remarkable," Fisher said through his translator. "But also terrifying. You cut so deeply without hesitation." Lin looked up from her work. "We have to. Human bodies are tough. Our skin is thick. Our bones are dense. If you want to fix something internal, you have to go in hard. But the wounded you treated, you gave them chemicals that would kill most species. Extremely high doses, really? Those were our standard painkillers. Reduced doses, actually, since I wasn't sure how your biology would handle them." Fisher's antenna quivered. "Reduced doses? Those concentrations would stop a tanninish heart." Lin frowned, pulling up her medical database. "Let me check something." She entered the chemical formulas for common human medications, then compared them to the Federation medical standards that Pfizer provided. Her eyes widened. "Oh, that's interesting. What is almost everything in human medicine is toxic to Federation species. Even our safe doses are lethal to you." She scrolled through more data. "Our antibiotics, our antivirals, our painkillers, all of them would kill you. How is that possible?" Fisher hesitated, then pulled up a star chart. "May I ask, where is Earth located?" Lin provided the coordinates. Fisher entered them into his system, then made a sound that the translator rendered as shocked distress. "No, that can't be right. There's nothing in that sector. The Confederation surveyed it 300 years ago. All planets in that region were classified as uninhabitable." "Uninhabitable. Earth has 8 billion people. Show me your planet specifications." Lin pulled up Earth's data. Gravity, atmosphere, composition, temperature, ranges, native life forms. Fisher read it with growing horror. "Class 12 Death World," he whispered. "Your planet is rated Class 12. What does that mean?" "The classification scale goes from 1 to 12. 1 is Paradise Worlds, perfect conditions. Most Federation species evolved on Class 3 or 4 worlds. Class 8 is considered barely survivable with environmental suits. Class 12 means instant death to most known life." Lin stared at him. "Earth is not instant death. It's beautiful. Your gravity is 3 times what I grew up with. Your atmosphere has oxygen levels that would be toxic to tanninish. Your temperature swings would freeze or cook most species. And according to this data, your planet has megapona predators that weigh several tons and hunt in packs." "Oh, you mean the big cats and bears?" "Yeah, they're dangerous if you're not careful." "Not careful, Dr. Lin. A single one of those creatures could destroy Aquilari settlement, and you have thousands of such species. Your planet is a nightmare." Lin was quiet for a moment, absorbing this. "I never thought of Earth as a nightmare. It's just home." In the station's observation deck, Sergeant Cole shared a meal with several Quillari security officers. The human Shad brought ration packs to supplement the station's depleted supplies. Cole opened his pack and started eating. One of the Kari, named Branch, watched in fascination. "What are you eating?" "Beef stew. Want to try some?" Branch took a tentative taste, then immediately spit it out. "That's poison. The chemical sensors detect at least 40 toxic compounds." Cole checked the package. "And it's just spicy. Has some peppers in it. Good stuff. Peppers. Those are toxic plant defense mechanisms. Most species can't metabolize capsaicin without severe damage." "Huh? We like it. Says it has flavor." Cole continued eating while Branch stared at him in amazement. Another Quillari spoke up. "May I ask, how much do you weigh in your armor?" "About 200 kilo with full combat load." The Quillari consulted his data pad. "That's impossible." Our gravity is standard. One gravity. A creature of your size should weigh perhaps 60 kilos. You would need 3 times normal muscle density to support 200 kilos. Earth has higher gravity, about 3 times what you're used to. This feels light to me, actually. I could probably jump pretty high here if I tried. Cole demonstrated by hopping slightly. He shot upward about 2 meters before coming back down. Tequilari scrambled backward in alarm. You can jump 3 body heights, Branch exclaimed. That's predator physiology. Are humans predators? Cole thought about it. Kind of, we're omnivores. We eat plants and meat. But yeah, humans hunted animals for millions of years. We're actually persistence hunters. What does that mean? We chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Humans can run for hours without stopping. Most animals can't do that. They sprint, then need to rest. We just keep going until they can't run anymore. The Quili were silent, processing this information. Finally, Branch said quietly, "That sounds horrifying. It's just how we evolved. Earth is competitive. You adapt or you die." In the command center, Captain Ross was having a similar conversation with Administrator, Pilot, and Tradem. They sat around a table with food and drinks, attempting formal first contact diplomacy. Willow had been trying to find something she could eat from the human supplies. Everything was either too salty, too toxic, or required protein chains her body couldn't process. Finally, she gave up and nibbled on some station supplies while Ross ate something called a sandwich. "Tell me about Earth," Pilot requested. "You want to understand what kind of world produces people like you." Ross thought about where to start. Earth is diverse. We have deserts that reach 70-degree C in summer. We have polar regions that drop to 50-degree air. We have forests, oceans, mountains that reach 9-kilometer high. That temperature range should be impossible for a single species. Willow said, "How do you survive such extremes?" "We adapt. We build shelters. We make clothing. We create technology. But also, humans are just tough. We can survive in most environments on Earth without equipment. If we need to. Your planet has a single large moon," Pilot noted, reading from his database. "That causes extreme tidal forces. Your oceans must be violent. The tides can be strong. Yeah, good for surfing, though." "What is surfing?" "Recreation. We ride the waves for fun." Willow made a sound of disbelief. "You play in deadly tidal forces." Ross laughed. "When you put it that way, it does sound strange. But humans like challenges. We climb mountains because they're there. We dive deep in oceans to see what's at the bottom. We explore caves and jungles and places that are dangerous because we're curious. Curiosity in the face of death," Pilot said slowly. "That's a very Death Worlder trait." "Maybe, but it's also gotten us pretty far. We went from caves to space travel in 10,000 years. We're explorers. It's what we do." Trademaster Willow spoke carefully. "Captain Ross, I mean no offense, but humans frighten me. You're strong, durable, aggressive. You eat poison and consider it flavoring. You survive injuries that would kill anyone else. You come from a planet that would kill most species within minutes. How can we trust that you won't turn that violence on us?" Ross met her eyes because we choose not to. "Yes, humans can be violent. Yes, we're good at fighting. Earth made us that way. But we're also capable of compassion, cooperation, art, music, philosophy. We protect the weak. We help strangers. We sacrifice for each other. That's human too. You saved us today," Pilot acknowledged. "You had no obligation to help. You didn't know us, yet you came anyway. Like I said, it was the right thing to do." Willow was quiet for a long moment. "I think I begin to understand. Your world made you strong so you could survive, but your culture made you kind so you could live together. Both are necessary, exactly." Ross said, "Earth is a hard teacher, but humanity learned to be both tough and gentle, both fighters and healers. We need both sides to survive." Pilot's antenna touched together again. "The Confederation needs to know about this, about humans, about deathers who choose kindness over cruelty. Will they be scared of us?" Ross asked, terrified, Pilot admitted, but also hopeful. "The galaxy is more dangerous than we like to admit. Perhaps deathers are exactly what the Confederation needs," Ross smiled. "Then let's make sure they get the full story." "The good and the scary," agreed, Pilot said, "though I suspect even the good parts will seem scary to most species." Lieutenant Daniels was reviewing sensor logs when the alert chimed. She looked at her display, then looked again to make sure she was reading it correctly. Her stomach dropped. "Captain Ross, we have a problem." Ross was in the station's command center, finalizing repair schedules with Administrator Pilot. He activated his comm immediately. "Report, Long-range sensors are picking up multiple contacts. Vector indicates they're heading for Harmony Station. Signature matches Ravager fleet composition. How many ships? Daniels checked the numbers again, hoping she was wrong. 47 vessels, sir, including 3 heavy cruisers. They'll arrive in approximately 6 hours. The command center went silent. Pilot's antenna drooped. Trademaster Willow made a small sound of despair. Ross kept his voice steady. Are any Confederation forces in range? No, sir. The defense fleet is still 2 days away. We're the only military asset in this sector. Ross ran the calculations in his head. 6 human ships against 47 Ravager vessels. The math was brutal. They had won the first battle because they had surprise and Theravagers were scattered. This time the enemy would be organized, prepared, and heavily outnumbered. We should run, Willow said quietly. You've done enough, Captain. You saved thousands of lives. Nobody would blame you for leaving. Ross looked at Pilot. How many people are still on this station? 7,200. The wounded can't be evacuated quickly. Neither can the children or elderly. How long would full evacuation take? 12 hours minimum. We don't have enough transport capacity. Ross made his decision. Then we fight. Daniels recall all personnel to their ships. Combat condition Alpha. We have 6 hours to prepare. Sir, Daniel said carefully. The odds are not favorable. I know, but we don't abandon civilians. Not on our watch. Pilot stood up straighter. Captain, you will all die defending us. Maybe, maybe not. We're tricky when we need to be. This is suicide. It's our choice to make. Willow looked between them, her large eyes reflecting confusion and something else. Respect, perhaps? Why would you do this? You barely know us. Because it's what humans do, Ross said simply. We protect people, even at cost to ourselves. Sergeant Cole gathered his Marines in the cargo bay. They knew the situation. They knew the odds. Nobody complained. Nobody suggested running. They were Marines. This was the job. Listen up, Cole said. We've got 6 hours until company arrives. 7 Ravager ships. They're going to be pissed about what we did to their friends. Questions? Private Wells raised her hand. What's the plan, Sarge? Same as always. Hit them hard, hit them first, and make them regret showing up. That's not much of a plan. Best I got. We're going to coordinate with the station defenders. Use their sensor arrays, their knowledge of Ravager tactics. They know this enemy better than we do. They lost the first fight, Sarge. Because they're not built for combat, but they're smart. We combine their brains with our muscle, we might have a chance. Another Marine spoke up. Are the aliens going to help fight? Some of them volunteered. Administrator Pilot says they're not soldiers, but they're willing to try. Brave bugs, someone muttered. Yeah, Cole agreed. They are, so let's make sure their courage means something. In the station's tactical center, human and Queely officers worked together to prepare defenses. It was awkward at first. The Queely moved differently, thought differently, communicated differently, but slowly they found a rhythm. Administrator Pilot displayed 3-dimensional models of the station. The Ravagers will target our power generators and life support. They want to capture the station intact if possible. Daniel studied the layout. Then we make it expensive for them. Cole, can your people hold these choke points? If we set up proper firing positions, yeah, but we'll need supplies. Ammunition, power cells, medical equipment. We have supplies, Akari named Reed offered. Not weapons, but raw materials. Can your people manufacture what you need? If you've got metal and power, we can make it work. Tradem Willow surprised everyone by speaking up. I know Ravager tactics. I've studied them for years to protect my trade routes. They always send scouts first to probe defenses, then hit hard where you're weakest. Ross turned to her. So we give them a weak point. Draw them in, then spring the trap. It's risky. Everything about the situation is risky. But if we're going to die anyway, let's take as many of them with us as possible. Willow's expression was unreadable, but her voice was firm. I don't want you to die, Captain. Any of you. You saved my children. I will do everything I can to help you survive. The next hours passed in frantic preparation. Human engineers worked with Quillari technicians to reinforce critical systems. Marines practiced room clearing with Quilly security, learning to coordinate despite their different fighting styles. Medical teams prepared triage areas, humans and aliens sharing knowledge across the species barrier. Dr. Lin found herself working with Pfizer, the Quillari doctor. They were preparing for mass casualties, setting up equipment, organizing supplies. I'm frightened, Fisher admitted. I've never been in combat before today. Me neither, Lin said. I am a doctor, not a soldier. But sometimes you have to do jobs you're not trained for. How do you manage the fear? I focus on the work. I think about the people I can save. And I remember that I'm not alone. Fisher's antenna tilted. You humans are strange. You acknowledge fear, but don't let it control you. Fear is useful. It keeps you alert, but you can't let it paralyze you. That's a very predator way of thinking. Lynn smiled. Maybe, but it works. On the observation deck, Sergeant Cole found Administrator Pilot staring out at the stars. The Kari turned as Cole approached. I keep thinking I made a mistake, Pilot said. I called for help. I brought you here. Now you're going to die because of me. We chose to stay. That's not on you. But if you hadn't come, you'd be safe. Cole stood beside him, looking out at the same stars. When I joined the Marines, I swore an oath. To protect people who can't protect themselves, to stand between civilians and danger. Today, you're those civilians. This is exactly what I signed up for. But your life matters too. Yeah, it does. And I'm choosing to spend it protecting 7,000 people I just met. That seems like a pretty good way to spend a life. Pilot was quiet for a long moment. I don't understand humans. You're violent but gentle, afraid but brave, tough but kind. How do you hold all these contradictions? Practice, Cole said with a slight smile. Look, here's the thing. Humans spent thousands of years fighting each other. Wars, battles, terrible things. We learned what violence costs. So when we fight now, we try to fight for the right reasons. To protect, not to conquer. To save, not to destroy. And you think this is the right reason? Saving kids from raiders. Yeah, that's about as right as it gets. The 6 hours passed too quickly. On the bridge of the Defiant, Captain Ross watched the sensors as the Ravager fleet entered the system. 47 ships in tight formation. They knew exactly where they were going. All stations battle ready, Ross ordered. Remember, we hold until the civilians are safe. No matter what, Daniels looked at him. Captain, there's something you should know. Administrator Pilot has armed every Kalari who can hold a weapon. They're manning secondary positions throughout the station. They're not soldiers. No, but they're done running. They're choosing to fight. Ross felt something catch in his throat. These peaceful aliens, these people who'd never known war, were choosing to stand alongside humans against impossible odds. Then let's make sure their courage counts for something. All ships engage at will. The Ravager fleet advanced. The human ships moved to intercept. On Harmony Station, Marines took their positions. Kalari defenders stood ready. Dr. Lynn and Fisher prepared their medical bay. Trademaster Willow coordinated civilian shelters. Administrator Pilot watched tactical displays relaying information to human forces. And everyone waited for the battle that would decide whether hope or fear ruled the day. The Ravagers opened fire, and the second battle for Harmony Station began. The Ravager fleet hit them like a hammer. Captain Ross gripped his command chair as the Defiant shuddered under weapons fire around him. His crew worked with focused intensity, calling out targets, managing shields, coordinating with the other human ships. They were outnumbered 8-1. The math was impossible, but humans had never been good at accepting impossible odds. Target their lead cruiser, Ross ordered. All batteries concentrate fire. The Defiant's weapons spoke, joined by fire from the other human ships. The Ravager cruiser shields flared, then collapsed. The hull beneath cracked and vented atmosphere. It wasn't destroyed, but it was hurt, forced to fall back for repairs. Good shooting. Next target. But even as one cruiser retreated, 20 other Ravager ships pushed forward. They were learning, adapting to human tactics. They spread out, forcing the human fleet to divide its fire. It was working. Slowly but steadily, the Ravagers were winning. Shield at 40%. Tactical reported hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. On Harmony Station, Administrator Pilot watched the space battle through his sensors. The human ships were incredible, fast and deadly. But they couldn't be everywhere at once. 5 Ravager vessels had broken through the defensive line. They were heading for the station. Incoming ships, Pilot announced on the common channel. Brace for boarding action. Sergeant Cole heard the warning in his helmet comm. He was positioned in the main corridor leading to the civilian shelters. His Marinas spread out in defensive positions. Behind them, Kalari security officers held their light weapons with determination that Cole found humbling. Remember the plan, Cole said calmly. Let them come to us. Wait for my signal. The station shook as Ravager ships docked, cutting torches burned through hull plating. Heavy boots thundered on metal floors. The enemy was coming. Cole watched his tactical display. The Ravagers were pushing down 3 different corridors exactly as predicted. They thought they knew the layout. They thought they knew where the defenders would be. They were wrong. Tradem Willow had spent hours studying Ravager tactics. She understood how they thought, how they moved. She had helped design this trap. The first Ravager squad reached the junction point. Cole let them advance into the kill zone. When 20 raiders were exposed, he gave the order. Now carry technicians triggered modified mining charges. The floor beneath the Ravagers exploded upward. At the same moment, Marines opened fire from 3 different angles. The Ravagers were caught in a crossfire with nowhere to hide. In seconds, the corridor was clear. Sector 1 secured, Cole reported. Reloading and repositioning. Similar ambushes played out across the station. The quarry weren't soldiers, but they were intelligent and they knew their home. They sealed bulkheads to channel Ravagers into dead ends. They vented atmosphere in strategic sections. They used their station systems as weapons in ways the raiders never expected. But it still wasn't enough. In the medical bay, Dr. Lin worked frantically as wounded poured in. Both humans and Kalari bleeding and burned. Fisher worked beside her, their initial awkwardness gone, replaced by the smooth coordination of experienced partners. "This one needs immediate surgery," Fisher said, indicating a Marine with a collapsed lung. "Stabilize him. I need to finish this one first. He'll die if we wait. So will this one. Fisher, you need to do the surgery. I've never operated on a human. You've watched me do 3 already. You can do this. I trust you." Fisher's antenna trembled, then steadied. He gathered his instruments and went to work, saving a human life with shaking but skilled hands. On the Defiance Bridge, things were getting desperate. 2 of the human escort ships were badly damaged. The Ravagers had lost more ships, but they had ships to spare. Humanity didn't. "Captain, we can't hold this position much longer," Daniels reported. Ross studied the tactical display, looking for options Heck knew didn't exist. Then something changed. New contacts appeared on sensors moving fast from the direction of the station. "What am I looking at?" Ross demanded. "Small craft, sir. Civilian shuttles and cargo ships, they're broadcasting on the common channel." A voice came through, translated from Quillari. It was Tradum Willow. "Captain Ross, the civilians are evacuated to the core shelter. We're bringing you reinforcements." "Negative, those are civilian craft. You'll be destroyed. We've equipped them with mining charges and ramming reinforcements. We may not have warships, but we have numbers and we choose to fight." Ross watched in amazement as dozens of civilian craft swarmed into the battle. They weren't military vessels. They weren't even armed properly. But they were crewed by people who refused to watch others die for them. A Quilly cargo hauler rammed a Ravager destroyer, both ships exploding. A civilian shuttle used emergency thrusters to dodge plasma fire, then delivered a mining charge directly to a Raider's engine section. The charge detonated, and the Raider went dead in space. The Ravagers faltered, confused by this suicidal bravery. They had expected to fight soldiers. They had expected resistance to break when casualties mounted. They hadn't expected civilians to turn themselves into weapons. "All ships support the civilian craft," Ross ordered. "Don't let their sacrifice be wasted." The human fleet pushed forward with renewed aggression. They covered the civilian ships, providing fire support, drawing enemy attention. The tide of battle shifted, not decisively but enough. Enough to give hope. Inside the station, Sergeant Cole and his Marines made their final stand in the corridor outside the civilian shelter. 20 Ravagers pushed toward them, determined to break through. Cole's ammunition was running low. His armor was cracked in 3 places. 2 of his Marines were down, but he held the line. Beside him, a Kalari security officer named Reed fired his light weapon until it overheated, then grabbed a fallen Marine's rifle and kept shooting. The weapon was too heavy for him, designed for human strength. But he braced it against the floor and made it work. "I can't believe I'm doing this," Reed said, his translator crackling. "You're doing great," Cole said, changing his magazine. "Just keep shooting. I'm a security officer. I give directions and handle disputes. I'm not a warrior." "You are today." A Ravager charged their position. Cole shot it twice, but it kept coming, wounded and furious. I traced its weapon, aiming directly at Reed. Cole moved without thinking, throwing himself in front of the Kalari. The Ravager's shot hit Cole's chest armor. The impact threw him backward, but the armor held barely. Reed killed the Ravager with a burst of fire. That was more luck than skill. "Why did you do that?" Reed demanded. "You could have died." Cole struggled back to his feet, pain shooting through his ribs. "Because you're worth protecting." The Ravagers fell back, regrouping. Cole knew they'd come again, but he also knew his Marines wouldn't break. Neither would the Quillari fighting beside them. They'd hold this corridor until help arrived, or they couldn't fight anymore. Help arrived first. "All stations, cease fire," Ross's Voice came through on all channels. The Ravager fleet is retreating. I repeat, the enemy is withdrawing. Cole looked at this tactical display in disbelief. The Ravagers were running. The ships that could still fly were jumping to FTL, abandoning their damaged vessels, abandoning their boarding parties. Running from an enemy that should have crushed them. Did we win? Reed asked, his voice small with shock. Yeah, Cole said. Yeah, I think we did. The aftermath was quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after violence when adrenaline fades and reality sets in. The station was scarred, burning in places but intact. 7,000 Kari and Tanish civilians had survived, so had most of the human fleet, though the ships bore wounds that would take months to repair. In the command center, Captain Ross met with Administrator Pilot and Tratum Willow. All of them were exhausted. Pilot's exoskeleton was cracked. Willow had burns on her fur. Ross had a broken arm that Dr. Lin had splined an hour ago. How many did we lose? Ross asked. Pilot consulted his datapad. Kilari, 63 Tananish, 21 humans, 21 Marines who would never go home. Ross felt the weight of each name. They died protecting your people. They died Asheros, Pilot corrected. We will honor them. All of them, Willow spoke quietly. We lost civilians too, the ones who flew the civilian craft. 38 ships didn't come back. Heroes as well, Ross said. They chose to fight when they didn't have to. That's the bravest thing anyone can do. We learned it from watching you. Willow said, humans showed us that running isn't the only option. That sometimes you stand and fight even when it seems impossible. Pilot's antenna touched together. I'm writing my report to the Confederation Council. They need to know what happened here. They need to know about humans. What will you tell them? Ross asked. The truth. That humanity comes from a world that should have killed them, but instead made them strong. That they're frightening, but also kind. That they fight like demons but protect like angels. That we called for help and they came even though they owed us nothing. That they stayed when they could have run. That they taught us courage we didn't know we had. That's a lot to put in a report. It's necessary. The galaxy needs to understand. Deathworlders aren't monsters. You're survivors who choose to use your strength to help others. That's important. 3 weeks later, Captain Ross prepared to depart. The Confederation Defense Fleet had finally arrived, bringing supplies and reinforcements. Earth Command had sent new orders. The Frontier Guard was needed elsewhere, but first contact protocols had been established. Communication channels were open. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. On the day of departure, hundreds of Kilari and Tanish gathered in the main hangar to see the humans off. It was an impromptu ceremony, organized by Administrator Pilot and Tratum Willow. Sergeant Cole stood with his remaining Marines, accepting thanks from aliens who no longer feared them. Reed approached Cole, moving with the slight limp from his injuries. I wanted to thank you again, Reed said, for saving my life. You saved mine right back. We're even. No, you taught me something important. That being afraid is acceptable, but letting fear control you is not. That's a human lesson. I'll carry it the rest of my life. Cole extended his hand. Reed understood the gesture now and clasped it awkwardly with his claws. Different species, different worlds, but connected by shared experience. Dr. Lin said goodbye to Fisher in the medical bay. They had saved dozens of lives together, creating the foundation for human-Kari medical cooperation. You're a good doctor, Lin told him. Your people are lucky to have you. Us are yours, Fisher replied. Will humans return? I think so. We're explorers. We like meeting new people and we keep our promises. Then I look forward to working with you again. Perhaps next time under less violent circumstances. That would be nice. Captain Ross stood with Administrator Pilot on the observation deck, watching the human ships prepare to depart. What happens now? Pilot asked. We go home. We report to Earth Command. We tell them about the Confederation, about your people, about everything we've learned. Then we wait and see what humanity decides. Where will you come back? Someone will. Maybe me, maybe others, but yes, humanity will be back. We're not good at leaving friends behind. Friends, Pilot repeated. Yes, I think that's what we are now. Ross smiled. First contact could have gone worse. It could have, but it didn't. Because humans chose kindness over cruelty, protection over conquest. Thank you, Captain, for everything. The human fleet departed in formation, jumping to FTL with flashes of light that lit up the observation deck. Administrator Pilot watched them go, then turned to Tratum, who had joined him. The galaxy is about to change, Pilot said. Yes, Willow agreed. Humanity is out there now. Deathworlders who protect instead of prey. The Confederation Council won't know what to make of them. Neither did we at first, true, but we learned. Others will too. Pilot pulled up his completed report, the one he would send to the Council. It was comprehensive, detailed, and honest. It described everything that had happened, the violence and the kindness, the fear and the courage, the death and the sacrifice. At the end, he had written a single recommendation that would change the fate of 2 species, and eventually, the entire galaxy. I propose formal diplomatic relations with humanity and the immediate offering of Confederation membership. They have proven themselves worthy allies. More than that, they have proven themselves to be exactly what we need, protectors who understand both strength and mercy. The galaxy is more dangerous than we like to admit. It's time we had friends who weren't afraid to face that danger with us. He sent the report and waited for the galaxy to